Actually, before our intervention, this wetland was badly degraded. After our intervention, our tree planting activity, the water table has risen, so that this is on a slope, but you can see water is now coming out of it. And to continue conserving this area, we have decided to plant Syzygium quinense. As I said earlier on, those are some of the tree species that used to exist on this riparian land before human settlement. Far at the back, you can see the remnant Syzygium trees that we planted way back in 1990 when we first started this organization. And just close to me here, you can also see the young Syzygium that we have just planted. We are quite sure that once these trees are grown to maturity, we shall have several wildlife coming back. Bird species besides the cranes, we will also have the turacos, blue turaco. We have migrant birds. For information, this is a migratory bird of the birds that fly all the way from Europe down to South Africa. So these trees won't just benefit the community, but they will benefit the entire world, because this is also a stopover of the migratory birds. Beside me, you can see now the river flowing, and if you look at the water, it is brown in color, and this indicates that there is a lot of soil erosion taking place, or the runoff water from other nearby farms. And these trees will also assist in controlling soil erosion. As a result, we will have a healthy wetland where even man can also draw some clean water, beside the area being a habitat to the wildlife. We have already planted around 30,000 tree seedlings within this particular area, and we have around 30 households depending on this small area that we have just planted the trees. But then if we are to talk about the entire wetland or ecosystem upstream, it is around 25,000 households that will depend directly on this wetland.
So my name is Wycliffe Matika. I'm ITF International Tree Foundation Program Manager, in charge of the implementation of strategic objectives of ITF in Africa in relation to environment, in relation to community capacity building and livelihood improvement. We have a vision for Africa where it's free from desertification. We are able to halt and reverse deforestation. And at the same time, we are also having prosperous lives and improved livelihoods across the continent. One of the flagship programs of ITF is Sustainable Community Forestry Program. This is where we promote small-scale community conservation initiatives that are able to promote conservation of vital biodiversity, but also they are able to meet multiple development goals, what we call the Sustainable Development Goals. Our programs out of the 17 SDGs, we are able to achieve at least 10 SDGs at the grassroots level. Our approach to landscape restoration is we do forest conservation, or what we call reforestation. We also do agroforestry. We also do the wetland protection, wetland conservation, but also a huge niche in terms of the schools and institutions. We focus so much on the reforestation and afforestation program because of the underpinning roles that the forestry play in terms of stabilizing the local climate change effects. But because also in Africa, They are the carbon sinks. They are also, they sequester carbon from the atmosphere, but also they are vital reservoirs for the local biodiversity. We have a rationale of focusing on threatened forest and their associated biodiversity. Particularly in Kenya, we have a total of 1,100 species, indigenous species, but out of it, we have 142 that are threatened with extinction. This is of particular concern not only at the local level but also at the global level, and we intend to ensure that we restore the threatened species in the ecosystems but also in the landscapes, so that we are able to gain as much benefit as possible. So agroforestry has huge potential because from the studies that have been conducted by authorities, FAO included, shows that 60% of the landscape restoration opportunities and potential is within the agroforestry system, the smallholders, where we are estimating more than 8 million or 10 million, particularly in Kenya, and in Africa we are looking at more than 60% smallholders who depend particularly on the landscapes for their livelihoods, and also for their other safety nets as relates to food security. In Africa, we are doing currently 40 projects, and we are doing within 11 countries. The backbone of this work and the bulk is in Kenya, where we are called People of the Trees, or Watu wa Miti, and we have been able to reforested we have been able to plant more than 5 million trees. This is in Kenya. Of course, this can be accredited by the authorities, Kenya Forest Service, because we are planting under a framework of cooperation, Adopt a Forest. And because we work with grassroots organizations that are vulnerable, pro-poor, we focus so much on the livelihood security or livelihood improvement initiatives of these communities, because they are at the pyramid, at the pyramid of development. And therefore our programs mainstream empowerment, they mainstream financial and direct benefit. Also the center of this, we are using a principle of reaching the farthest first. Reaching the farthest first means that we listen so much, and we are able to address the felt needs of these communities in relation to food. We are doing indigenous food security, particularly food crops that are what you can put in parentheses that are orphaned. These are drought resistant. We are able to empower communities so that they are able to restore and propagate and cultivate these fruits, so that they are able to be food secure throughout and food sufficient throughout all the year. Where communities get income or tokens by participating in a reforestation program. There are 3 entry levels. Communities are able to provide labor for reforestation, where they get income. Communities are able to supply seedlings for reforestation program, where they get income. Communities are involved in the nurturing, maintenance, and sustainability of our sites, where they are engaged as community volunteers to nurture the trees and also add a social fence around the program. We are also undertaking a model called tree establishment and livelihood improvement within the restoration areas, where we are allowing communities and community forest association, tree nursery groups and women groups and other small organizations also to cultivate on a rotational basis as they nurture the trees. They are able to get more benefits as they do the nurturing of the trees.
Okay. My name is Philip Kalitaba, Station Manager, Dundori Forest Station. Dundori area station has an area of 3,609 hectares. Under plantation, we have, it's an area which is, we call it productive. It's 1,733 hectares. Under indigenous is 1,553, and the bushland is under the area of 385 hectares. Forest, Dundori Forest Station, when the Forest Act Forest Conservation and Management Act 2016 that came into place, it involved the community in participation, protection and management of forest stations, where communities have to form CFAs, and in case of Dundori we have Dundori Community Forest Association. So we partner with them in the issue of planting, maintaining and also protecting the forest in terms of security. In case of anything, they inform the office. At the moment, we have to involve the community because now they provide the cheap labor. That is, they do the planting of trees in the forest and then they do take care of. Currently, the CFA, Dundori Conservation Community, has members of 3,600, but not all that are involved. We have few who do take part in most of the activities in the forest. Mostly they are around 1,200. Those are the ones who are actively involved in the conservation, planting and maintaining of the forest. And that they do they partner with us, with our security personnel in the field, to assist us in conservation and management of our forest.